Coming up on Mountain News at 5:30, one group is making sure Kentucky legislators are coming face to face with folks who support medical marijuana. And have you ever wondered how the Speaker of the House is chosen? We'll break down how the system works coming up.
Plus, sunshine and milder temperatures continue to impress as we finish out 2022. How long they stick around coming up as Mountain News at 5:30 starts right now.
Dedicated to Southern and Eastern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 5:30.
Good evening, I'm Steve Hensley. Lawmakers will be faced with contentious decisions this upcoming legislative session, but they will also be directly faced with the stories of medical cannabis patients desperately seeking some relief in 2023. Kelsey Soto has more.
I know every one of these faces.
Julie Cantwell, one of the founders of Kentucky Moms for Medical Cannabis, carries the stories that each of these photos represent, more than 350 and counting. On Wednesday, she brought them from all over the Commonwealth to the state capitol to share their experience with lawmakers who will walk these halls daily during the upcoming legislative session.
I think it does make it more real. I think that whenever they see these faces of the people that they represent, maybe they'll remember who they worked for and why they wanted this job in the first place.
The group stopped Republican David Mead, the Speaker Pro Tem of the House, to see if they could count on him and his support in 2023.
He went 5 years seizure-free.
Oh my goodness.
And since then, he's only had 7 seizures.
Wow.
It also caught the attention of Governor Andy Beshear, who visited with them and listened to stories and even signed their banner.
I'm hoping that when legislators walk through here, they don't just open their minds, they open their hearts and they open their ears to hear the realities of the people of Kentucky.
While medical marijuana is currently still illegal in Kentucky, the governor's executive order is set to go into effect on Sunday, which will shield certified residents from prosecution. However, they'll have to travel out of state to purchase it.
This only helps people that have the means or the ability to travel to other places. We ought to have it right here.
That was Kelsey Soto reporting. As part of that executive order, the medical marijuana will need to be in the original packaging and no more than 8 ounces. And you'll need a letter from a doctor indicating the patient has one of 21 qualifying conditions.
Well, mostly clear skies out there today. We'll stick around as we head through tonight. Maybe a few clouds, but nothing big out there that'll help us see any kind of rain or anything like that, at least yet. Outside right now, sun is setting downtown Whitesburg. Just some salt still on the roads. Somerset downtown looking pretty nice as well. Folks headed through the roundabout. We're all melted there in the middle of downtown. 52, the current reading out there. Most of us in the low 50s and upper 40s at this hour. Temperatures dropping as the sun sets out there. Still plenty of clear skies out there on Pinpoint Doppler. Nothing to worry about. But coming up here in a little while, we'll talk about the plenty of sunshine we have on the way tomorrow. Even parts of Friday look like we'll see some sunshine. Temperatures definitely staying warm. You thought today was nice? Let me introduce you to Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, and even beyond. But that also brings back the chance of showers and even maybe some thunderstorms toward next week. Those details are coming up in a few minutes. Steve?
All right, Evan, thank you. Republicans will soon retake the House of Representatives, and their first order of business is picking a new speaker. California Representative Kevin McCarthy is the front runner to win the post, but WYMT's Washington News Bureau reporter Brendan Cullerton tells us why the current minority leader has some hurdles to clear.
Current minority leader Kevin McCarthy needs 218 votes to become the next House Speaker if all members weigh in. Right now, he's short of that total. Kevin McCarthy has a numbers challenge. Because of Republicans' razor-thin majority, he can only lose 4 party votes and win the speakership.
Now there are at least that many Republicans who have said they don't want McCarthy to be Speaker.
Catholic University of America's political science chair Matt Green says the House is virtually impossible to run without a speaker, so if nobody wins, voting will essentially continue until somebody gains the seat. The last time this happened was 1923.
It ended up taking over 2 days to elect a speaker, and 9 rounds of balloting. So we have been there before.
Georgetown University's Michelle Swerz says McCarthy can win votes through giving representatives more power. Swerz brought up McCarthy's promises to former critic Marjorie Taylor Greene.
She was kicked off of her committees by the Democrats, and she would like to be on the House Oversight Committee.
One change the House Freedom Caucus is asking for is a reversion to the process of removing the Speaker that Nancy Pelosi changed. It used to be any member of Congress could make a motion to replace the Speaker, but Pelosi required a majority of the majority party to sign off on the process.
What these disgruntled conservatives want is to return to the old way of doing things, where any one member of the House, a Republican or a Democrat, could force the House to vote at any time to remove the Speaker.
That change would remove power from leadership and return more of it to rank-and-file members. These changes could make passing laws more difficult.
McCarthy has to balance, what can he promise to members of the Freedom Caucus and other members that might be concerned about his speakership with the fact that he's going to have to govern.
The House is expected to vote on the Speaker January 3rd. In Washington, I'm Brendan Cullerton.
Members of the House of Representatives and their staff will no longer be able to use TikTok on electronic devices managed by the House. Lawmakers and staff members who have the short-form video hosting app on a House mobile device must uninstall it. An internal notice announcing the change identified TikTok as high risk to users due to a number of security risks. Separately, the government is expected to soon ban TikTok from all federal devices. That change is part of legislation included in the $1.7 trillion government funding bill awaiting President Biden's signature. More bombshell testimony coming out of the January 6th committee. Members released a new batch of transcripts yesterday, including 2 more of its interviews with former White House aide Cassidy Hutchinson. The new transcripts show Hutchinson and her Trump-funded lawyer, Stefan Passantino, appeared to argue several times when she testified before the committee last May. The transcripts also reveal that Hutchinson told the committee she witnessed former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows burn documents in his office fireplace around a dozen times between December 2020 and January of last year. President Biden announced an all-time record enrollment for healthcare.gov. He said nearly 11.5 million Americans signed up for insurance through the site from November 1st to December 15th. That's an 18% increase from the same time last year. The president says the figures do not include people who signed up for coverage through their state marketplaces. President Biden also said the uninsured rate hit 8% earlier this year, the lowest level in history. People can still sign up for health insurance for 2023 through January 15th. The Biden administration unveiled new steps aimed at preventing travelers arriving from China from spreading COVID in the United States. Many countries are concerned about the growing number of COVID cases in China, even while Beijing is not acknowledging a surge. CBS's Skyler Henry reports from Washington.
With COVID cases surging in China, the Biden administration announced a new COVID-19 testing requirement for travelers from China. Beginning January 5th, all travelers to the U.S. from China will be required to take a COVID-19 test no more than 2 days before travel and provide a negative test before boarding their flight. Hospitals and funeral homes across China are overwhelmed, just weeks after the government ended its zero COVID policy amid nationwide protests.
There was no preparation. Nobody knew. A decision was made on this, but there was no stockpiling of medications.
U.S. officials say China's lack of transparency on key scientific data could hamper efforts to prevent the detection and spread of possibly dangerous variants. Some estimates suggest more than half of the Chinese capital's residents are infected with COVID. Meanwhile, after nearly 3 years of lockdowns, China says it's resuming issuing passports for tourism in early January. That likely paves the way for a boom in travel abroad as China celebrates the Lunar New Year. Skyler Henry, CBS News, Washington.
Italy, Japan, Taiwan, India, and Malaysia are among the countries that have already announced their own new testing requirements on those arriving from China. The Secretary of State is recommitting to a pledge to bring American Paul Whelan home from Russia on the 4th anniversary of Whelan's detention. Whelan is serving a 16-year sentence in a Russian penal colony after his arrest in December 2018 on espionage charges, which he's denied. U.S. officials have declared him wrongfully detained. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said Wednesday Whelan's detention remains unacceptable, and U.S. officials continue to press for his immediate release at every opportunity. Coming up on Mountain News at 5:30, 2022 was a busy year for scammers. We'll run down some of the top cons you need to know about.
Plus, much nicer feeling air continues to work into the final half of the final work week of 2022. Details on if some showers could spoil those New Year's parties coming up after this.